Okay.
Go on. It's your turn.
It's my turn. Hello. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for listening. And to all of you for being here despite this wonderful parallel program. Thanks to Republica. Really, it's important to talk here. It's a core place about the meaning of things and about intervening. So what you see here is I'm Margarete. Experimental game cultures is my background at the University of Applied Arts, a studies program and a research group about play. Stefan Glasauer is my partner here on stage and in crime. We will go to talk about the Psycho-Ludic Approach. Okay, that was it.
My turn. So the Psycho-Ludic Approach. We basically, what we are doing is we explore play because we think that play helps us a lot for understanding ourselves. We will come back to that. So basically we address the future by means of play. We combine two approaches. We combine artistic research and scientific methods in our approach here. We understand ourselves not just as researchers, but also as co-players and self-researchers. So we investigate not just other people, but ourselves as well. In our project, we investigate also motivation, affect, empathy, and emotion. So, games. One of our important study fields is games. Why games? Not because we can learn from playing games. That's what we think. It's not that we can learn anything from playing these games, but we can learn about ourselves from the games we play. And that's a totally different approach. So it's in contrast to the usual gamification approach. We do something else. We use games. We look at what you are playing, what we are playing ourselves, what is fun to play, to understand how we work ourselves. So basically, games serve for us as a metaphor for our approach to life. And the games are really for us tools for psychological experiments, the Psycho-Ludic Approach. That's what we think is important, that we can use games in that way, that we can use games really as tools for understanding. Oh no.
Oh yeah! Okay. Yeah. Also games as tools, as psychological experiments. And how do we play games? So the Thais told me to talk about this. Usually chess, Monopoly, win, conquer, gather, defeat. These are mechanics that are very motivating. Strategic game chess, Monopoly, originally the landlord's game with a completely different meaning, but Monopoly, it's the accumulation of goods, defeating others, gathering merits, conquering areas. It's motivating. We want to win, a usual mechanics. These conquest strategies were dominant for a long time in human history. And we think about why are they so motivating? Why is this accumulating of possessions, of conquering new levels, extremely successful in established capitalist terms, even through all the cases that we see, what the consequences are of it? So a mere accrual of possession, even virtual, motivates to continue playing in life as well as in the world. Status quo. So, motivation. Can playing be fun without conquest strategies? Or can we turn things around? Which other motivations tempt us to play in ludic environments? Whether or what can we learn from these about possible future forms of society, and whether in experimental, playful contexts of experience we touch nature, matter, and the world so empathically? One, 6-sided dice. So we go, are there intrinsic forms of motivation, such as curiosity or mechanics that we also approach as internal motivation? What other things can we approach to change these forms of motivation? What is an intrinsic motivation without immediate merit, immediate win, without accumulation of points, scores, money, cash? How can we fundamentally change our attitude to the world around us, to vibrating matter, and in doing so, perhaps overcome such detrimental mechanisms? Oh yeah, how do we overcome it? 4. Well, the psycholudic research groups, our role in a game was one approach. So Stefan said at the beginning, we don't use games to learn something. We learn something by playing games. It's another approach. It's a difference that makes a difference. What is our role in a game? Usually, defeating the enemy or the other player. Well, the answer is given
so the
now.
Question is that always the case in all games? Do we always have to defeat the enemy? Okay, in most games, yes, but also the other player? Turns out, no, not in all games. There are, for example, card games where we actually exchange our roles. So in several card games, so this is one of example of Bavarian cards from the game called Schafkopfen. I don't know if anybody knows it here. So in this game, actually what we do is we play in teams, but the teams change. So in every turn of the card game, we have a different team. So the person who is first my enemy will be in next turn will be my accomplice. So actually, suddenly the role that I'm taking in the game and the person that I am are two different things. And we think that this exchange of roles, okay, this was not a good one, but this exchange of roles is actually some important point. It's an important feature of these card games that we basically do not conflate the role with the person of the player. Yeah? They are two different things. We don't fall into this kind of trap of confusing the player with the role.
Yeah, it's cheating.
So, exchange of roles. That's what we can do. We can play games and not just always sit there in the same role, but actually exchange what we are doing. We exchange our roles during the game. Why not during the game? Why not exchange roles while we play something? And this is one of our test games here. We will come back to that one later. But we also tried it with games which you probably already know. So this is the famous board game Catan. Some of you maybe know this game. It's a really fun game to play. And it's, of course, about conquering land, growing faster than your enemies, yeah, kind of keeping them down and everything. And what we did here is, you can see, we exchange roles. We determined this exchange of roles by throwing the die. I'm not the lucky one today. So, exchange of roles means the player is no longer the role. And it turned out, especially in this Catan game, suddenly we took care of each other's roles. We were not just taking care about what our role is doing in the game. We took care about others' roles because they could become ours at any time. We were always throwing the die to exchange the roles. So another interesting thing, of course, playing was still fun. So it didn't become boring just we exchanged roles every 6 or 7 turns or something like that. It had, as I said, it had that effect on strategies because the possession was linked to the role, not the person. So I couldn't take what I did in one role, I couldn't take with me to the next role, but I took over the next role. And in the end, winning did not feel like winning really, because it was the role that was winning, not my person. I'm sorry. That we have already in some cases in our life, especially in democratic systems. Because in democratic systems we exchange roles. We are not linked to the role, or at least we are linked to the role for a certain time, but then it is very important that we exchange it. And that is also what we see in this game. So for example here, Bundesverfassungsgericht, our constitutional judges, they are there for 12 years. They cannot be re-elected. After 12 years, they change. They are another person. They go back to their old roles in the normal life. The President of the United States, 2 times re-elected, if he doesn't change the constitution, that is. Yeah. So perhaps we should even exchange more. Yeah? That would be a proposal that we have from our games. We should exchange more, you know.
Games help to relax.
So, our next question was, actually this exchanging of roles, can we also adopt, so at least we adopt a different perspective, of course, by exchanging the roles, which is really important. But our next question was, can we also adopt a different role, a different perspective by playing something completely different, like a lake? Why a lake? Well, very clear, because if we could have the perspective of a lake, maybe we could have another perspective on polluting the water, yeah? Or using the water or something like that. Maybe we could have some ideas about that if we could play a lake from time to time. Is it possible? Oh.
Yeah, is it possible?
Exchange is possible.
Sometimes. You see, not so probability, but it's working with 25 slides and 2 players in 30 minutes. It's okay. It's enough change, you see. So it needs to be balanced. We've seen there are different perspectives. Already with Schafkopfen, there are mechanics existing that change the roles, that allow to change roles, and to adopt a different perspective by playing a tree via the importance for democracy, which is existing in these rule-based systems of changing roles and then going into the other position again. We want to come towards this question of also empathy. Is it possible with a system which is not animistic, not in an animistic view, by playing a tree? Is this possible at all? So, playing is acting. Trees react as complex systems. Playing is acting for us as psycho-organic complex systems. Trees react as complex dynamic systems as well, to the environment, to the context, to whatever. How do we go on in a system to build up with our strategies that we elaborated already a form of empathy with something like a tree, like a lake. Very important questions, goes on, about free will. Is free will existing for a tree? Is free will existing for me? Or is it just my incapacity to predict your actions in a very near future even, which seems to be your free will, as opposed to my free will? We don't know. No choice. Players have free will, generally spoken. A tree has no choice in that sense, but is that true for all games, for all players? Free will, these are dark patterns of game design. A photo from the Silver Legacy Resort Casino in Reno, Nevada. It's no 3D rendering, it's a real photo from a conference that happened there. Or is it just an illusion? A play without choice that we have here in this casino in the Legacy Resort where we throw the dice. Repurpose the slot machine. This illusion of agency that we have. If I press the button, or if I insert the coin, if I draw the lever as the one-armed bandit, if I throw the dice, I do something, but I have an illusion of agency. And repurposing this illusion of agency here in this beautiful arcade machine from the Computerspiele Museum, actually in Berlin, we can repurpose it for our question and research question here. 2. Repurpose, how do we do the repurposing with the slot machine? Why do we need the darkest pattern of game design? Das Glücksspiel, the slot machine. Because we can design a system where one aspect is the tree, the other is the lake, the next is the company, the villagers, and the players. And here in the center is the dice, where we have a mechanics that evolves out of it, where we repurpose the game mechanics of a slot machine. How do we do that? We have the feeling, number one, of agency in a setting like that. Together, we exchange roles. We achieve a game that is playable, allowed to adopt other roles that otherwise would require unrealistic assumptions. A tree, a spirit of tree, so we can believe in a spirit in the tree, but that's not the question. It's only to accept and see this relativity of free will or not for us and for the other system. We can come from another level and other aspect, and so we have an answer. How do we deal with it? 2. Instead of abstraction, it's multi-perspectivity. The different change of roles, the different aspects that we see when switching after one game round. I will not conquer you, because I will be you or your role in the next round, most probably. So, how would that be for a tree? This video.
Let's imagine a game about climate change. Players are a village, maybe an energy company, a new industrial plant established outside the village, and a tree. Summers are getting hotter. The energy company tries to buy land for solar plants. Some of the villagers just try to keep the grass green, while others need water for their crops. The industrial plant needs water for cooling, and the tree blossoms in spring, has cherries in summer, and loses leaves in autumn, and gets less and less water every year, starts to lose whole branches. Would you like to play the tree? You probably wouldn't. Not so much because the tree is suffering, but because it is not an actor. It reacts to the environmental changes, and that's it. No choice, no will. And it's really hard to imagine that the tree could do something about it. This would mean to get back into animistic beliefs, to attribute the ability to act to the tree. The tree just follows rules without the possibility to choose, and in a game that's pretty boring. Like in the endgame of Yunori, when you have one token left and all you can do is move as many steps as the yardsticks tell you. Maybe even more boring, since you cannot even throw the yardsticks when you play the tree. What can we learn from this point of view? First of all, the idea of animate matter may be nice in theory, but when you have to play it, it doesn't work very convincingly. Then, for the purpose of experiencing how human actions, or even just environmental effects, affect something like a tree or a lake, empathy is not going to work so well, unless we really believe in the lake having a choice whether it flutes the village or vaporizes in the heat. One can argue here that my free will might be an illusion, while your free will might just be my incapacity to accurately predict your next action, which is quite understandable, given that living beings such as humans are truly complex nonlinear systems, hard to predict even in a short term, and impossible to predict for a more distant future. Back to our game. Despite the inability to act, it would be helpful if we could play the tree to experience the effects of the actions of the other players. And there is perhaps a way to let you experience some empathy for the tree when playing it, if you have the illusion of being able to act. How would that work? Like playing at a slot machine, you control the lever, but the outcome is not at all influenced by your action. Like in Yunori, when you throw the sticks and then follow what they dictate. It's just an illusion that you throwing the sticks has any meaning for what you have to do. But it is precisely this illusion of agency that you need to enjoy the fact that the sticks show exactly the number of steps you need to take to win. If you play the tree like it's a slot machine, allowing some kind of unpredictability to what happens next, which gives you a feeling of agency, you might be willing to feel with a tree. And the game may become even more interesting when you can change your role after a certain time. Like in a fairy tale, when the curse is past, you are allowed to play the village again, or the company, or the farmer. This change of perspective, putting you in the shoes of someone or something else, will provide you with a subjective experience, an experience that exceeds abstract knowledge about what happens. And that's what we propose in order to play a tree. Multi-perspectivity instead of abstraction.
Thank you very much indeed.